The Biography of Bread, a Historic and Botanical Evolution of Wheat. For over 10 millennia, the story of human civilization has been inextricably bound to a single botanical genus, Triticum, commonly known as wheat. What began as an obscure wild grass clinging to the hillsides of the Fertile Crescent evolved into the foundational engine of empires, urbanization, and global trade. The transition from nomadic foraging to sedentary agriculture was not merely a change in dietary habits, it was the structural catalyst for human history. We will explore the profound historical journey of wheat, highlighting the epochal moments that defined its lineage and examining the radical structural, genetic, and economic contrasts between ancestral grains and the highly industrialized crops of the modern era. The dawn of cultivation, the Neolithic Revolution, c. 10,000 BCE. The history of domesticated wheat began in the Karakadag Mountains of modern-day southeastern Turkey. Here, early humans transitioned from gathering wild grains to intentionally planting and harvesting wild einkorn, Triticum monococcum, and emmer, Triticum dicoccum. This accidental symbiosis altered human sociology permanently. Because wheat provided a dense, storable source of carbohydrates, human populations no longer needed to follow migratory game. Permanent settlements emerged, giving birth to the concepts of land ownership, storage infrastructure, and specialized labor. The breadbaskets of empire, antiquity in Rome, c. 3000 BCE, 400 CE. As cultivation techniques spread along trade routes, wheat became the currency of absolute power. In ancient Egypt, the annual flooding of the Nile created an unparalleled agricultural surplus, turning Egypt into the primary supplier of the Mediterranean world. Centuries later, the Roman Empire recognized that political stability depended entirely on the grain supply. Through the cura annone, the grain dole, the Roman state provided subsidized or free wheat to hundreds of thousands of citizens in Rome. Rome's geopolitical strategies, including the conquest of Egypt, Sicily, and North Africa, were driven by an insatiable need to secure vast breadbaskets to feed its urban centers and military legions. The Industrialization of Milling, the roller mill revolution 1870s. For thousands of years, milling remained virtually unchanged. Wheat berries were crushed between rotating stone wheels, producing a coarse, dark flour that retained the bran and germ. In the late 19th century, the invention of the automated steel roller mill fundamentally transformed global food systems. Steel rollers peeled away the fiber-rich outer bran and the oily, nutrient-dense germ, leaving behind only the starchy endosperm. This produced an ultra-fine, pure white flour with an unprecedented shelf life, as the shelf-stable endosperm resisted spoilage. White flour shifted from an elite luxury to a cheap, ubiquitous commodity, radically altering the human diet. The Green Revolution, Norman Borlaug and semi-dwarf varieties, 1950s-1960s. By the mid-20th century, global population growth threatened to outpace food production, prompting widespread fears of famine. Agronomist Norman Borlaug led a monumental scientific intervention by breeding high-yielding, disease-resistant, semi-dwarf wheat varieties in Mexico. Traditional tall wheat collapsed under its own weight when treated with modern chemical fertilizers, a crisis known as lodging. Borlaug's short-stalked, stocky varieties could absorb massive amounts of synthetic nitrogen to produce heavy seed heads without buckling. This scientific breakthrough saved an estimated 1 billion lives from starvation, won Borlaug the Nobel Peace Prize, and permanently established chemical-heavy monocropped agriculture as the global standard. Comparative analysis: ancestral wheat versus modern industrial wheat. To understand how drastically wheat has been transformed to meet the demands of modern commerce, it must be compared across three core pillars: genetic structure, agricultural management, and nutritional profile. Genetic and physical transformation. Ancestral grains possessed a simple genetic framework. Einkorn is a diploid grain containing only 2 sets of chromosomes, while emmer is a tetraploid grain with 4 sets. Over millennia of hybridization, bread wheats emerged as hexaploid grains with 6 sets of chromosomes. Physically, heritage wheats like Turkey Red, which dominated the American plains in the 19th century, grew up to 5 feet tall, using deep root systems to scavenge for organic nutrients in untamed soil. Modern industrial wheat has been deliberately stunted to a uniform knee-high height of less than 2 feet. This structural change ensures that all the plant's energy is redirected away from growing stalks and roots, focusing entirely on producing a high volume of uniform seeds. Agricultural mechanics and environmental inputs. Ancient wheat farming was a low-input system reliant on crop rotation, animal manure, and rainfall. Grains like spelt and einkorn were protected by a tough fibrous husk that shielded the seed from pests, moisture, and fungal diseases, though it required laborious stone threshing to remove. Modern wheat has been bred to be free threshing, meaning the hull falls away easily during mechanical harvesting. However, stripping away this natural armor leaves the crop vulnerable. Consequently, modern industrial wheat production is entirely dependent on a rigorous chemical infrastructure. Synthetic nitrogen fertilizers to drive rapid growth, chemical fungicides to replace the missing protective hull, and pre-harvest applications of chemical desiccants to ensure uniform drying before combined harvesting. Milling dynamics and nutritional biochemistry. The biological profile of modern wheat flour is entirely distinct from its historical predecessors. When stone-ground ancient grains were consumed, the presence of the bran and germ slowed down digestion, preventing sudden spikes in blood sugar. Modern industrial milling removes these components entirely to extend shelf life, turning white flour into a fast-digesting carbohydrate that behaves metabolically much like refined sugar. Furthermore, the biochemistry of the gluten protein itself has changed. Ancestral grains contain a fragile, highly water-soluble gluten structure that breaks down easily during traditional fermentation, such as long sourdough processes. Modern industrial baking demands highly elastic, industrial-strength gluten that can withstand the violent mechanical stretching of commercial factory mixers without tearing. While this allows factories to produce thousands of loaves of bread per hour, the highly resilient, dense protein structures can be significantly harder for the human digestive tract to process. The evolution of wheat is a direct mirror of human progress. In our quest to feed a rapidly expanding global population, we successfully transformed an ancient, diverse wild grass into an ultra-efficient, highly predictable machine of industrial factory production. This transition undoubtedly solved critical problems of famine, shelf stability, and global logistics, creating a cheap and abundant food source. Yet, this optimization came at a distinct cost, altering the genetic, agricultural, and biochemical nature of our daily bread. Understanding this history is not merely an academic exercise. It provides the essential blueprint for modern agriculturalists and bakers seeking to balance the lessons of the past with the production realities of the future. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the history and science behind our daily bread, I'd love to hear your thoughts. So leave a comment and let me know what stood out to you. And if you found this video helpful, please give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and tap the notification bell so you never miss the next installment. Sharing this video also helps the channel grow and brings more people into the conversation. I appreciate you being here, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.